My new video about runners and chasers. My new video. I love it. You're both the twin flame runner and the chaser. Who would have thought? Well, there you go. At least I was. And me talking about that, yeah, I hope that helps you as well. I was the chaser of false twin flames and the runner from myself. And he was too, both of them. Both roles, runner and chaser, are not staying with being. And for twin flame union, that's what you need, staying and being. When you are with your deeper self together and stay with it, they will too, the other twin flame. And that is where relating starts. In union is a relationship too. It's not only a magical bubble of divine light, of union, there's a relationship inside of that too. So you have to relate to each other. Now, there's a big problem. We all have been traumatized in what relating is. We don't know what relating is. We have attachment issues. We've been in some sort of way treated in our early childhood so that our attachment has not been coming into being in the correct or full way. So we need to heal that, and we haven't done that yet. And it is also true that inside your union, or rather your harmonious twin flame union, the state of consciousness that it is all about and from which your physical union will be birthed, in harmonious union is the best atmosphere ever to heal that attachment, to heal all those attachment wounds that are at the basis of our not knowing what relating even is. So this then points to the fact that you want to go to harmonious union, and then within that start to heal your relating too. So that means that you want to go to your relationship with your core, your source, with the divine, in other words, and heal your relationship between you and that divine source. That's how you get into harmonious union, because the first thing underneath the divine, so to speak, in the order of the divine, is what happens is you two are there, relating to each other. But you can only relate to each other when you are actively connected to your source. Otherwise, you indeed don't know what relating is. So, yeah, maybe you say, well, I don't necessarily have so much, attachment issues from my early childhood. It's relatively okay. And I did some therapy, but maybe that is still not relating back to your source in every thing that you relate in the horizontal dimension, so to speak, in this little triangular model that I just conjured up. But it's pretty accurate when you would think about how we are created by the divine as humans, because twin flame means the deeper nature of your humanness, your humanity. Yeah, it's about being a human, really. So to try to approach it again, the runner and the chaser. So both of these, they can live inside of you or in them and you. Doesn't really matter. They're both forces that are not being and staying and relating to the divine directly and having that healed, so that you can repair your inner attachment wounds that are psychologically also waiting for you there to be repaired. But they can only be repaired by your direct connection to your source. That needs to be repaired first, that telephone connection, that vertical telephone connection. So, both running away as well as chasing the other person or the thing that you think that you need is not staying and being in the direct telephone connection with the divine so that you can also relate. It's both not that. When you are running, you are sure running from yourself, from your own shadow sides. You are running from first establishing the connection with the divine fully. When you are chasing, you are actually running away from yourself to something that you think is better than yourself, the other or something else. And that chasing is thus actually running and not doing what is necessary and asked for in twin flame union, which is staying and being with the self that is connected with the divine and having a direct telephone connection with them as a template for what relating inside your beautiful sacred union bubble is also about. And while you inside your beautiful union start to relate and communicate, you keep on having the telephone connection with the divine on. So you're always walking like this when you communicate with the twin flame. Hey, twin flame. Yeah, it's like a new fashion here. We just keep on the telephone all day long. So yeah, I know that, normally that would be rude, but this is the twin flame connection. And I'm learning the right way of being inside of that. And actually, that's also the way to be with every other person too. So, maybe I should just get that telephone glued to my face. Yeah, that's better. Now I have two free hands and we can, grab each other's hands and have a beautiful dance while still talking to the divine because now the telephone is glued to my face. Well, I have a better solution. Let's integrate the telephone. This is better because I don't want to be rude. I'm just going to integrate the telephone in my heart space. So here we go. Here's my iPhone. Just going to integrate it in my heart space. Right. And we're always connected to the divine. So that's my new solution. That's how I'm going to relate. And I'm not going to be a runner anymore and also not a chaser when I not only run from myself, but now also have a goal where I'm running to, which makes me a chaser, which is the same thing, the same phenomenon. And I just stay connected always. So I was certainly a runner and I was so afraid of myself and of my divine self and of what that meant and of letting go of all my shadows and my ego. I was so afraid of that. I can't tell you how afraid I was. I was anxious and fearful and afraid. Every fiber of me was afraid. And even though I had true direct experiences of what, it feels like to join the divine and to join your deeper self and to feel at home and cozy in your energy body. I had these experiences, but it was very difficult for me to integrate the fact that these experiences existed for me into being with other people and being in the world and doing my work and being in relationships and being in the relationship that would be my ultimate relationship. I just sort of couldn't do it. I couldn't integrate it there. I could just sometimes with my first spiritual teacher and the community be in that beingness, but I couldn't bring it into full connection with my social and emotional life. But only later, when I was, you know, longing enough for the true twin flame, and I finally let everything else go, and I prioritized being on the twin flame journey completely. And I knew that this was my destiny and this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted above everything else. It was only then that I really started to learn to mix and mingle that deep divine wisdom and peace and inner knowing and inner spaciousness of this sort of meditational experience that sometimes was experienced a little bit in a daily life setting, but I could not integrate it into my own relationships at home, sort of like, only when I was enough desiring the true twin flame and I had enough of all the shitty things that I had created as a result of not integrating that divine sacred space into my relationship life, when I was so sick of that, of all these things that I created instead of that, that all didn't work out and made me feel sick and unconnected and disgusting. Yeah, when I was totally sick of it, that's when I started to prioritize union. And when I started to invest in union and prioritize it and really dive into it and going fully into it, that's when I finally learned how to combine the meditational experience with the social experience, with being with people, with working with people, with friendships, and my love relationships, my intimate relationships, and family relationships. And that's when I finally started learning that. And I was no runner anymore because now I was confronting myself with how sick I felt about how relationships went and how longing I was, how desiring I was for the true thing. And that's how the running stopped because I was just, let's say, radically confronting myself. And the chasing stopped too. And, this was all a decision, but it also took some time to really let this sink in and to, for instance, also stop the chasing, stop going to other people or other potential romantic partners and whatnot to try things out, to stop doing that because it doesn't come from going on a date with a random dude that you're a little bit like, yeah, I don't know, but maybe. And then afterwards, you're like, yeah, I just feel a little bit sick of it. It doesn't come from that. Twin Flame Union comes from doing the right kind of inner work, doing that in the right community and with a true teacher. It doesn't come from trying a date out. And I also started to disconnect every possibility of where I was potentially, even sort of without necessarily consciously wanting it, sharing my intimate romantic self sort of with someone that was a little bit by accident, but I don't know how that in my unconscious mind was working, probably not. But I just started to close all of that off and I started to close everything off that came from the past because it was for a reason that didn't work out. And that's how I stopped being a chaser too, because it led nowhere. Yeah. But I was a chaser of false twin flames because I was the biggest thinker and believer that this person here, over here, that just came in my life right now, was really the true twin flame. I mean, they should have, they should be, they should be, because I only wanted to be with a true twin flame, and I felt that in my heart for decades already, that it was absolutely the ultimate truth for me. So there was no mistaking that, and that was true, and it still is true, and I was right. But I was thinking that every other person was the true twin flame because that's what I desired. So this person coming into my life, they must be that. And I was chasing that one, and I was chasing that one, and I was chasing that one, and it was all pretty insane. And I didn't know how to get rid of this because I did bust these bubbles. Oh, this was not a twin flame. And then I truly had an insight. I truly had an insight, and then it fell away. But then the next one came, and the same thing happened until it fell away. So how to stop this freaking chasing? And now I understand that that's what they maybe call the chaser. I was the chaser because I was chasing false twin flames. And when I stopped chasing altogether, the twin flame, the true twin flame, was already there. I can't stress this enough. When I stopped chasing, the true twin flame was already there. He was waiting for me to stop chasing, to stop freaking chasing all these idiots. And for me to stop running away from myself, from my lessons, from my shadow, from my childhood full of narcissistic and sexual abuse that prepared me for a life in adulthood with a psychology that was completely upside down about exactly everything. Because that's what narcissism does. Now, narcissism, I think I may be making another video about that too, because I know very many people have questions about it on the twin flame journey. But essentially, what I came to realize after in-depth healing of it inside the space of harmonious union, which I earlier said that indeed heals those things for you. There's actually nothing else that does that to completion, only that. But what I came to realize eventually was that narcissism is actually only an exaggerated ego. But an ego we all have, but it's much more egoic in the narcissism thing. But it was completely opposite of what sane psychology is, because the ego is everything upside down from what the truth is. That's why we do the twin flame journey. That's why we do the spiritual journey to the depth of the twin flame. Because we see that the ego is not enough to have that relationship with your capital S self, with your being, with where you are connected, communicating all the time with the divine. So it steers your life from the inside out, and also all your relationships. And in particular, it brings the true twin flame to you in your life in harmonious union. But we can connect there, and it will let everything else fall away. And it will involve for you to stop running and face yourself so that you fall back into the ocean of divine love that is already here. And it will ask from you to stop chasing what your ego has placed in front of you as the substitute of this ocean of divine love that is already here, already present for you. And that's the healing that is required of you. And then you will be with the true twin flame that will just be here and present itself as the one waiting in love for you in the now with open arms. And of course, also because when you arrive there, you have healed yourself to be standing there as the beingness with open arms, too. And that is the truth of the matter. And I hope this helped. I do have one other runner chaser video in which I explain a couple of stages that you might want to take to get out of this rut. And I think that one will be very helpful for you too. I will place it here in a couple of seconds and I will see you there. Much love from Petra.